So we talked about Linn the other day, and one of the things that reminded me was their penchant for, or their demands, that their dealers only have one pair of speakers in the room at a time. And Linn dealers were required to pull out all the other and the thought was, well, you don't want all these idle woofers moving in concert with, because that'll affect the sound. So I think people would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I've always liked Linn Electronics. Their speakers, the Toucan and the Can, and some of those were pretty nice. But I wasn't always a Linn speaker devotee, and some of the things were good ideas. I think them having speakers placed against a boundary, so that you know exactly the boundary condition of the speaker as a design criteria was an interesting idea. And they've done a few other things. I know when I was in Seattle, Hawthorne Stereo was the main Linn dealer there, and they had a room cleared out for their set of Linns. There are an effect to having a tuned speaker not playing in a room. There's things called diaphragmatic bass absorbers. So in room acoustics, one of the ways that you can improve the sound of a room many times is having a broadband bass trap, and just frictional traps like you took a bunch of wool or stuffing material insulation and place it in the corners, that kind of thing, has an effect. But the wavelengths are so long at low frequencies that actually these diaphragmatic traps are more efficient. So usually what that is a thin sheet of plywood mounted into a tuned chamber. And there's other even thinner diaphragms that will flex at low frequency and absorb. And you actually
absorb some of that energy.
Yeah, you actually want lossy walls in a listening room, because if you just had concrete block walls and no absorbers, you get very perfect bass modes. So they're very sharp peaks, very high Q. So you have very high Q peaks and very high Q dips in the room. But if the walls have some loss to them, then that spreads out that energy somewhat and will yield a smoother response. So actually, these diaphragmatic traps, if they're tuned correctly, can make improvements in rooms, but it's very situation dependent. But if you had some mistuned ones in a room, maybe
like idle speakers,
maybe it could cause an issue. The problem is speakers tend to have pretty small drivers.
Yeah.
So the actual amount of surface area, I don't know how. I'm kind of dubious about that.
Me too. I mean, I have to tell you. So my experiences with innovative audio in New York City, Elliot Fishkin, and he demoed the difference, and I could hear zero difference.
Right.
And I Elliot, this is horseshit.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. You're just not tuned in. And I don't know.
I think it's something where that speaker selector wall is a lot of times what speaker manufacturers used to try to avoid.
Sure.
And so I think the Linn approach is a good way to get their speaker out of that, the dreaded,
well, if it's the only speaker in the room,
right,
and you're listening, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
And we love Linn.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're a great company, great Scottish company,
and really fabulous manufactured stuff.
So I'm not making fun of them at all. I mean, because I really think they are a true asset to our industry.
Yeah.